What is going on? We are back here at Trench Talk, back from our little hiatus that we went on. You know, life just gets ahead of you sometimes, and you got to grab it by the horns and put them down because you're an Iowa State fan. But welcome back to Trench Talk. We're here going to talk some college football, NFL, a little more college heavy, just because, as Christian and I were talking about before, I think this is the most fun college football has been in a very long time. But still hit on some NFL news, obviously.
Yeah, we're getting down to it. College football playoffs have come out. Heisman finalists have come out. Even the draft is right around the corner, it feels like. At least we're starting to do some mock drafts. So,
Yeah.
It's this college football time right now. We're kind of in the lull in the NFL.
I should have opened up and told the fans that we're going to talk about NBA and see how that would have went.
Yeah, NBA Cup time, so buckle up.
Did you see how how bad the ratings are this season for the NBA, or have you looked at it at all?
No, I haven't. That's probably the reason it's down is because who cares, right?
I believe I saw a statistic that's down 22% from last season.
That's
Mainly,
tough.
no one cares. I even like to watch. I like to watch basketball, but even now, I'm more in tune to college basketball because the NBA is just not fun.
Yeah, they put this in-season tournament to try to bring in viewers, but I think everybody's in the same boat of who really cares? Really, you kind of just blink and then it's NBA playoff time or whatever, and then that's when they'll start to bring in some views.
Yeah, and they started at the worst time. Like if you're telling me, like right now, that I'm supposed to watch an NBA game over the NFL, who the playoff race is heating up there, the college football playoffs and college basketball, like I'm not.
And hockey's going on.
That's true.
And Juan Soto got a new contract.
Yeah.
I just don't care about the news in the NBA.
I told my buddy Tyler, or our buddy Tyler, that I'd rather watch an MLB game right now than an NBA game. Just straight up.
I don't know about all that.
But
seeing them play in the snow and stuff.
But one thing we will be able to watch very soon, I believe starting next Friday, is the college football playoffs. The committee released their brackets last weekend, or this past weekend. I think, we are going to butt heads here a little bit. We have at least a text exchange, but I think they got it pretty right. I think the committee got it pretty right. The format, we can get into that later, but you are on the Alabama got snubbed boat over with SMU getting the spot over them.
Yeah, I feel like they're setting kind of a bad precedent here. It's not even like I'm okay with who got in. I feel like there's no way they could have gotten it perfect. And I think if people say it was a perfect bracket, they're just lying to themselves. It's mainly just like how the bracket is set up, because right now we're like, oh, Oregon getting the number 1 seed is like the worst thing they could have done, because now they have the hardest path to win a national championship out of anybody, whereas Georgia can just walk in.
Yeah, they're gonna have to obviously adjust this next year because, Oregon having to, they get that first round bye. That's awesome for them. But like you said, they have to face the winner of either Tennessee or Ohio State. And in any other sport, this is not how the postseason is done. You don't and I know, it could have been a lot worse for them, but they're having to go up against the winner of the 8-9 matchup, where, as you alluded to, Georgia has to play either Notre Dame or Indiana. And then if they win that, then they play likely Boise State if they win, or SMU, the winner of SMU and Penn State. It's like we're not awarding great seasons as much as people think that we are.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just how they do the seeding, because I feel like, sure, I don't know if I agree with like there being 4 automatic buys given to the conference winners, because then you have like Arizona State and Boise State who are the 3 and 4 seed, but they're not going to play like the 3 and 4 seed. They're going to play like the 11 and 12 seeds. Like these are
Right.
teams that really got it. I mean, you look at. I mean, Texas has to beat a Clemson team that really didn't turn it on until late, but I think that Clemson team is better than Arizona State and better than Boise State.
Yeah, and I mean it's almost like there's a couple teams in this bracket where, don't get me wrong, I'm not mad that they got in. I'm just saying right now, and this is where we flesh it out. This is the first year of this 12-team playoff, but where it makes it hard to not put them in and put them in where they're at. So for first off, like a Boise State, and then Indiana. Especially with Indiana, I'm not mad that they got in, but just with their record and their schedule, it's hard to not put them in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like what they did is they said, we don't want to put the best teams in. What we want to do is put the most deserved teams in because people were upset about Florida State not getting it last year, which is just an absurd thing to do just because that Florida State team was not good. I don't think this Indiana team is good. I don't think this SMU team is that good. I mean, combined, Indiana and SMU have 0 wins over good teams. I mean, SMU hasn't beaten a ranked team this year. We're going to expect them to go up against Penn State, who almost beat Oregon. No, that's going to be a bloodbath.
Right. And even like you can see kind of like a little bit of like the money making side from this bracket, which, hey, I mean, that's what this is all for, expanding from 4 teams to 12. But it really hits when you look at that Notre Dame Indiana matchup. Like, come on, that like there's a reason that the 2 in-state schools, the in-state rivals, are playing each other at Notre Dame. I mean, that just makes sense.
But then they also missed out on some, like if they let Alabama in over SMU, for example, I feel like they'd be making a lot more money because I don't know anyone who's going to tune into SMU versus Penn State and who's going to keep it on when Penn State's up by 45 after one quarter.
That's a fair point. 40.
You got to think about just like competitive. I mean, the bottom side of the bracket is just not worth watching because it's going to be super chalk. It's going to be exactly what you expect because all the bad teams are down there. There's nobody that can even have a chance to upset Georgia. Maybe
I don't
Penn
know.
State.
Well, if Carson Beck isn't playing, I think that gives them a little bit of a better shot.
Well, Carson Beck didn't play most of the game this last week, and they still won.
Maybe that just exposes Texas for not being that great of a team as we think.
Or it's Georgia just being a good team. No matter, I mean, we don't really ever look at the Georgia quarterbacks and be like, oh, this guy's really good. I mean, where did Stetson Bennett end up?
Well, he was with the Rams, but they didn't play for a year. Well, he actually ended up in jail for a little bit. That's where he ended up. Because he got a DUI. So
yeah. Well, I mean, Carson Beck probably isn't going to be that much better. I hate to break it to all the Carson Beck fans, but he's kind of just a Georgia quarterback. They're just going to bring in another Georgia quarterback who is really good in high school and can just operate the system that they run.
Yeah, and he's kind of tanked his resume a little bit this year. I mean, I wasn't really the biggest fan of him coming into this year, but then after seeing him play out this season, he's kind of dipped off a little bit.
Yeah, there's been some rough weeks for sure.
But I wanted to get on. So we talked about, the format that needs to switch. Ideally for the format to switch, just make it like every other postseason where, like, even the NFL is a perfect example. I feel like a bracket setup is nice, but you need to have it where it's like, okay, well, if Oregon's the 1 seed, then they will just play the, I guess, lowest remaining seed, and then you just go from there.
Yeah.
Like, the bracket format's nice because it's nice and simple, but it also doesn't make sense when you put it like this.
Yeah, because right now we have Oregon, who has to most likely go through either Ohio State and Tennessee and then play Texas, and then
Mhm.
after that, after they're beaten and bruised, taking on two of the best teams in the nation, they then have to take on most likely Georgia.
Right. Now, if everything does go chalk, and if everything goes chalk right now, let's say it's Ohio State. Let's say it's Ohio State that beats Tennessee, and then Oregon has to play them, and then Oregon has to play Texas. If they beat them, go to the national championship and win, then there has to be no other argument that they're the best team in the nation because of the path that they had to go through.
Yeah, and I feel like this is what I've seen a lot of people talking about is we're all saying, oh, Oregon kind of got screwed getting the first seed. People are like, well, stop whining. They have to beat these teams anyways. No, they don't. Like, that's such a bad argument as saying, well, you have to beat 3 teams anyways to win a national championship, so go out there and beat them. Well, why do they have to beat the 3 best teams?
Right.
Like, sure, that'll prove that they're the best team in the nation, but they could also do that the same way if they end up beating like SMU or Notre Dame and then go on to take on like Boise State, right?
Plus, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to lose to Penn State, and then if everything goes kind of similar, then they have to play an extra game against likely Clemson because they'd be the 5th seed, and then they have to play Arizona State, who has a week of rest? I mean, you could say they got
easier schedule than what they have now.
You could say they got screwed because of the format, but I think a good point that another podcast I was listening to brought up is that Arizona State, this first round bye kind of sucks for them because they're one of the hottest teams in college football, and they have to wait a week to play.
Yeah, we're cooling them off. It's like Joe Flacco last year. Could have won a Super Bowl with the Browns, but they decided to sit him in the last week.
Yes, that's why.
You never cool off the hot players, and the committee's cooling off Arizona State.
Now, going through all this, we've knocked on the format, but it is what it is. We've knocked on the bracket, but everything's set in stone. What do you got for the first round matchup? I mean, I texted one of my buddies, I'm going to win, in parentheses, lose so much money on this first round week because I'm so excited to watch all these games. You could talk about how Penn State and SMU is going to be along with Notre Dame and Indiana, but you can't lie. These are going to be fun games to bet on. So what do you got?
Well, I mean, I feel like it's going to go pretty chalk. I mean, Texas should be Clemson. I don't really see a world where Clemson wins that. I think that Notre Dame's going to embarrass Indiana. It's going to really expose how Indiana's not really that good of a team this year. They're just kind of in a weak bracket or conference.
Which sucks for me because behind the scenes, I've been knocking Notre Dame for the last second half of the season.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I'm not alone on this because Bussin' with the Boys love their podcast. One of their guys in the back of the bus said that Indiana and Notre Dame is a fraud off, which I love.
I don't think Notre Dame's that good, but I think they're better than Indiana.
Yeah, which means they just get essentially a free win, but then they get walked by Georgia in the next game.
Yeah, oh my gosh. That's what I'm saying. Georgia has such a cakewalk because, I mean, they have to play 2 teams that probably even shouldn't have been ranked if we really think about some of the best teams in the nation. I mean, these teams,
but
I don't understand how they make it.
Georgia either gets to play a team that got walked by Ohio State, who Ohio State lost to Michigan,
or a team that lost to NIU.
Yeah, or a team that lost to NIU. And in their other games have played Army and Navy.
Hey, don't knock on the Army, Navy, Notre Dame games.
Okay, but I don't know if I've said on this podcast, and I'll just get off my soapbox real quick, or get on it real quick. You can't. I hate Notre Dame wanting to be this college elitist, and then they schedule 2 MAC schools and Army and Navy. If you want to be a college elitist, we're too good for a conference. We don't need to be in a conference. Then schedule good games. That's it. That's why they're frauds, because they're not. They might beat Indiana, and I might take Indiana money line. but I really hope they don't.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Indiana do well. Like it's a cool story.
And they definitely could.
I was pulling for them the whole year, but I mean, after I saw them lose to Ohio State, I just don't think they're one of the best teams in the nation. And it's I mean, this game's going to be such a rough one.
and
Maybe it'll be fun to watch, but it's just you can just smell the impending doom. I mean, it's just like that Puss in Boots movie where death is just you can hear the whistle. It's just kind of you can see a silhouette. It's like, all right, who's going to go to play Georgia after this?
Right. And it just kind of feels weird because so those two teams, along with Tennessee and Ohio State, it feels kind of weird because every other team we got to watch in a conference championship game. So those other four schools were kind of like, oh yeah, they're still around. And you kind of forget like either how they've played or like what kind of drive they've been on throughout the years. So it'll be interesting. I agree with you. I think Indiana can put up a good fight. So that game, I'm going to take Indiana in it, honestly. Give me Indiana.
Give me Indiana.
And then this last matchup.
Well, we got two more to talk about. I mean,
okay.
I haven't touched. I'll leave the Tennessee Ohio State to the end because that's probably the most entertaining of all of them, which is crazy that we get. That might be the most entertaining game in the first two rounds, and we're getting it right off the rip. But before that, SMU Penn State. I have Penn State by like a million. This is the most lock I've ever seen. This is like UConn last year winning the national championship.
And SMU right now is plus 270.
They should be plus 500.
And Penn State, do you want to guess the spread on that?
Penn State probably minus 7.5 at least.
9.
Okay.
Might have to take SMU spread there.
I don't think so. I mean, I like SMU. I think that they would have much rather wanted to have the 3 seed, but I mean, you drop both of your games against ranked opponents. You lose to Clemson, who I don't even understand the wizardry that got them into the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, SMU, I don't even think was a top 2 team in their conference, to be honest. And here they are. They have to take on Penn State, who, I mean, if you watched Penn State this year, it's really tough to not back them in this game.
That's true. Oh, shit. Sorry, I'm just placing my bets right now.
They lost Logan. He's on DraftKings right now.
Nope, I doubled down. I put my bet down for Indiana to upset. But yeah, I think I probably just won't even touch this Penn State SMU game. I don't even think it's worth putting anything on SMU to win. They kind of got exposed a little bit. I know that it was a close game, comes down to a field goal there in the ACC championship game, but Penn State proved themselves a lot, and their defense, although didn't look great against Oregon, I don't think you can really blame it because Oregon's been an amazing offense lately. So get ready for SMU to maybe score 2 touchdowns, and Penn State's probably going to win this one by probably about the same, 2 touchdowns, I would say.
Yeah, that ACC championship game was probably like the most exciting game of the season for me, because I put my faith in a 18-year-old kicker, or 19, however old he is, true freshman, kicking a 56-yarder ACC championship record, and he's never kicked over 51. He kicked that through. I won $100. So that was
nice. That's right. I remember you sent me that. Now we move on to the game I did just place a bet on. Tennessee, Ohio State in Columbus, in the Horseshoe. Logan's taking Tennessee on this one.
In the shoe.
We're taking it. Ohio State just got, the last time that they were out on the gridiron, they got walked, embarrassed by Michigan. I know it's a close game, whatever. But you have the most talented team you've had in a very long time, and you lose to Michigan like that. I have to take Tennessee money line on this, even though like they have got the SEC Offensive Player of the Year, Nico. I'm not even going to try and say that last name. That's no disrespect to him. I just don't want to mess it up bad. But I just got some faith in there in that Tennessee in the Vols. I'm taking the Vols over Ohio State.
Okay. I mean, it's tough to win in the shoe. I think that Ryan Day is just not good at winning against Michigan, so I'm not going to put that against him. I think that game's a trap game every single year, and I think Tennessee is a trap bet. Because I think we're all looking at it. We're like, well, Ohio State's kind of going low in Tennessee. This is a team that can upset them.
Plus 225.
Yeah, I think that. I also just noticed that on ESPN where I'm looking at the bracket on, it does have the spreads on it. So
yep,
could have just looked at that and blown your mind, but
yeah. Ohio State favored by 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's a thing for a reason. So I'm taking Ohio State.
That's true. People do always say that Vegas doesn't like to be wrong. So they know, but I think it's wrong in this one. Also, Texas by 11. I might take that for Clemson. I think they could keep it a little bit closer than 11.
Yeah, Clemson. I don't know how they got to this position. I mean, it's pretty cool that they did. I mean, Miami just screwed the pooch, and then Clemson also almost lost that game to SMU, even after leading by a lot.
And now Miami's playing us in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Which, by the way, when was the last time you had a Pop-Tart?
It's been too long, probably like a month.
I wish it was a month for me. It's been probably a couple years for me. Oh my goodness. I mean,
what's your favorite Pop-Tart flavor?
Well, I'm a blueberry guy.
What?
Yes. Don't hate.
Okay. Well, this is a first. Breaking news, we found the first blueberry Pop-Tart fan.
But then if we're going like more desserts, then like I guess desserts, not like the fruity ones. I love me a good brown sugar one.
Okay. What are we doing here?
What? What is your okay, you're probably so strawberry. Basic. You're probably strawberry, which is just wrong.
Actually, it's the Hy-Vee brand strawberry
Pop-Tart.
Oh, okay. Those Hy-Vee brand.
Those
the
are
Pop-Tart strawberry brand. The Pop-Tart brand strawberry, not good. Probably one of their worst. But you go to the off-brand strawberries, that's when you get really, really going. But I mean, wild berry is just better than blueberry. It's like blueberry on crack. And then if you haven't had the ice cream sundae or the s'mores Pop-Tarts, those are both just goated in their own sense.
That's true. The s'mores one is very good. I gotta look up because I know what you're talking about for the Hy-Vee Pop-Tarts. I gotta look up what their brand is. It's like super toaster pastries.
The strawberry toaster pastries. They'll do you. And this is coming from a guy who worked at the competitor Fairway forever. Those right there. Those are the best strawberry Pop-Tarts on the market.
You mean this?
And those are nasty looking.
Those are so good. But their marketing is working on me because I think I'm going to go pick up some Pop-Tart. But it conflicts so much with the gym grind and trying to eat healthy. But God, I just love a good Pop-Tart.
Pop-Tarts have carbs. That's good. Wake up in the morning with some carbs. Just eat it with some like scrambled eggs. It's not too unhealthy. I used to be really big into Pop-Tarts because I would buy all the new flavors when they came out just to try them. I might still have some like pumpkin pie Pop-Tarts or something in my cupboard.
Well, I did want to hit quick on dark horses in this CFP, just real quick. My dark horse, one of my buddies that I was texting we filled out our bracket together. My dark horse is Penn State. I have them going into the Final Four.
That's a dark horse? That's chalk. That should be easy. I think Boise State is going to get embarrassed when they actually play a real team. I know people are like, oh, but they competed against Oregon really well. Yeah, that was also last year at this point. I think that for me, I like Arizona State being a dark horse. I think people are underestimating their ability to beat Texas.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've seen their offense play now for like the last 3 weeks, and they look kind of unstoppable.
Isn't that funny? Our dark horses are the 4 seed and the 6 seed.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't really.
But that's just how they're going to adjust. Because even if Alabama was in this over SMU, I still wouldn't have them as a dark horse. I would
have them as my dark horse. I think they would make the Final Four easily. And I think that easily. And they would probably beat an injured Georgia. They already beat Georgia.
That's true.
So I could see them winning a national championship, which is crazy that they got snubbed from this. But,
well,
whatever.
When we talk about Final Fours on college football, the Heisman finalists were released earlier this week. I believe it was on Monday Night Football. It's the first time since 2017, which is when Baker Mayfield won the Heisman, that the SEC has not had a Heisman finalist in the top 4. Top 4 is obviously Cam Ward from Miami, Ashton Jeanty from Boise State, Dylan Gabriel from Oregon, and Travis Hunter from Colorado. Did they get it right? Did they get this top 4 right?
Yeah, I don't think anybody can really complain about this top 4 unless they're complaining about their inclusion of Cam Ward. I mean, it feels like right now it's a 3-horse race, and I think the media is making it seem like Travis Hunter's already won this. I think he's going to win it. Unfortunately for college football, he's going to win it. But I think if the voting were to play out correctly, might be a hot take, I think he'd be 3rd. He should be 3rd. I don't think he's better than Jeanty, and I definitely don't think he's better than Dylan Gabriel.
Now, yeah, a lot of people, to hit quick back on that, people are mad about the inclusion of Cam Ward, probably because they think another Cam should have been in there, and Cam Scattaboo, who we're very familiar with now because he dusted our Cyclones, which we're not even going to talk about that game, guys, because it was just embarrassing. And if you're looking back, I was going to say, if you're looking back now, it did kind of just go pretty chalk. The Cyclone hopefuls were it got to me. And I'm a Cyclone hopeful every day. Alumni.
Didn't get to me.
Yeah, alumni, Christian, 2-time alumni from that amazing university. So, but anyway, Cam Scattaboo, I don't really think. I mean, 1,500 rushing yards, 19 rushing touchdowns, 6 yards per carry.
I mean, I don't understand why he's even being talked about, because you got to think about each Heisman finalist has a case to win the Heisman.
Mm-hmm.
There's no argument about him being better than Jeanty, right? So
right.
Why is there any discussion about him being in the Heisman finalists if he has no chance to win it?
And I think it's also just because the Big 12 was – I mean, I know Jeanty is in the Mountain West. Not a great conference, obviously, but had some pretty good teams at the top. But you even look at the Big 12 this year, that's a reason why – there was a big discussion. Some people didn't even know if a Big 12 team was going to get in the playoffs. And there's a reason there's only one team. But you look at some of the teams that Arizona State had to play, and this is just a reminder to me, Kansas, Utah, Cincinnati, who Arizona State lost to, Oklahoma State, and Arizona at the end of the year. Just, I think they got it right here. I think they got it right. Sadly, there can't be 5. If there was 5, sure, put Cam Scattaboo in there. Just like how there can't be 2 Heismans, because I wish there could be this year, because I'd give it to both Ashton Jeanty and Travis Hunter. But if I have to give it to one, I'm with you. I'm giving it to Jeanty.
Yeah, and I think people aren't discussing Dylan Gabriel enough because they're like, oh well, his stats don't really.
Because it falls into like the NFL MVP place. You have to put the best quarterback on the best team. That's kind of I
Mhm.
think that's what people think, but they are underrating him a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean that's his team is undefeated, number one seed in college football. Look like they're going to win a national championship. I mean I feel like at that point your stats don't really matter, right? I mean you are the most valuable player in college football because your team is the best. If he weren't good, his team wouldn't be good, right?
Right.
I'm I mean in the past they favored quarterbacks a lot more. Although this year they kind of already written in stone that Travis Hunter's winning, which is just unfortunate for just like creating a discussion around this because it sucks to like have a Heisman finalist race to send these four guys there when the whole time they've known this entire season that Travis Hunter's just going to win it because he's like Vegas's golden child.
But
I mean, here's my thing about Travis Hunter is I think people are just overrating his abilities. I mean, snaps is not a stat. Like, I don't really care that he plays both sides. I mean, they're like, oh, this is nobody's ever done this before. Okay, then you just don't know ball. People do this all the time. He's not top 5 in either, despite what people are trying to make you believe. But he's not really top 5 receiver. He's not really top 5 corner. I mean, if he didn't have Shedeur Sanders and if the Big 12 wasn't this bad, I feel like he would just be a nobody. And then along with that, if you play both sides of the ball, you have the most influence to win games. So why is your team not in the college football playoffs? Why?
I was just about to say that. That's why I'm on Ashton Jetty's side because they are in there. They have a good quarterback. Their defense is, it is what it is. It's not great, not bad. It's been pretty good for them. Boise State is in this college football playoffs because of Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't give the award to Ashton Jeanty this year, it will never go to a group of 5 player. Like this is setting a dangerous precedent where only the top 3 conferences can get a Heisman winner. Like they can, like other than that, why even include a group of 5 player in the race at the end of the year if you're just going to snub him anyways? He's had a way more impressive season, and he's not stat padding like Travis Hunter. So
yeah,
that too.
Worth noting, and I know Travis Hunter has led the Big 12 in touchdown receptions with 14, but he didn't have the most yards in the Big 12. He didn't even have the second most yards. Second most yards was Jaden Higgins from the Iowa State University. No, just kidding. And on less receptions too. So,
yeah,
there you go. But I hope it goes to Jeanty. I know it probably won't because, like you said, the media has been eating up Travis Hunter, and rightfully so. I don't want to discredit him. He has been an amazing receiver to watch. Will I tune into their bowl game? Probably not. But I'm tuned into Ashton Jeanty's playoff game because he might actually have a chance against Penn State. So,
yeah, it's kind of the Deion effect too. It's like I feel like if Deion Sanders wasn't his coach, we also wouldn't really be considering him over Jeanty. I think he's a good player. Yeah, I think what he's doing isn't something that we see often. I think the last person that we could make a case for was Charles Woodson, who was better at what Travis Hunter is doing. People are looking at the touchdown receptions like it really matters when Colorado's blowing teams out by 30. But Charles Woodson was the best corner in college football, and he was returning all of their punts. So it's kind of a similar case where they're probably going to give it to him just because I think the Heisman committee is probably just impressed by how athletic a man can be. And they're like, well, I can't do that sitting here in my chair, so let's just give it to him. But I really don't. My last thing on Travis Hunter is I really don't see him being super great in the NFL. He kind of just has to pick a lane and then really focus on that because he's not going to be able to play both sides against grown men. So
Yeah, I agree there. And yeah, if he does, what are you thinking? I'm thinking wide receiver. That's where I'm leaning towards. But I
yeah,
don't know. It like sometimes it does feel like he might just be like because I feel like when I watch him play corner, he's a wide receiver in a corner, like playing cornerback. That's kind of how it feels sometimes. And he makes great plays on that end too. But like I think definitely wide receiver if he has to choose one.
Yeah, he's definitely a better wide receiver.
Now, sticking on college for these next two topics, this came out yesterday. It had been rumored for the last week, I want to say, and now it's official. Bill Belichick, 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach, is taking his talents to. I wanted to have find their nickname, but I forgot
Tar
it. But
Heels.
no, but where they're at. But North Carolina. He's going. Is it Dayton? No, it's not Dayton. Wherever North Carolina is at.
Dayton is in Ohio.
That's where you take over on this, and I learned where the University of North Carolina is at.
Isn't LeBron your goat? I'm pretty sure. No, he's from Akron, which is I guess that's close to Dayton, but still in Ohio.
Whatever.
I guess maybe it's just me being a Cleveland Browns fan. Just learn the state of Ohio. I think this is a good pickup for UNC, although like I really don't want this to tarnish his legacy if they don't do well because I just want to get my hopes up about this just because the college football scene is a lot different than the NFL. And I don't know how he's going to do recruiting with NIL stuff. UNC is not really a great team currently. I mean, it is interesting that they had Drake May, who's now on the Patriots, but I think Belichick, he knows football clearly, like he knows the fundamentals on such an advanced level that he should bring a lot of what am I saying? He can bring a lot of experience to the team. And along with that, I think he's going to have a similar effect to like Deion Sanders or maybe like Tom Brady going to the Bucs, where I think people are going to want to follow him because of just his name. So I think if you're like caught between two schools and you're like, oh, should I go to UNC or should I go to like
NC State? If you're a North Carolina kid,
and Bill Belichick comes to your door and he's like, do you want to play with my team? And it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to go pick Bill Belichick.
Hey, listen, we're going to give you a scholarship here. We really, really want you to play for our team.
I just know he's going to get every single 5-star punter known to man.
Chapel Hill, by the way, is where they're at.
That
was really close. I think it's interesting to see him kind of step back into coaching at the college level. I thought, obviously you kind of saw him spiral out there in the last couple of years in the NFL with the Patriots. And my main thought was always just like, well, it's because he's kind of the GM too. He's not really getting the right guys in the right position. Now he's going down to the college level where recruiting. That's where, again, you're in that main position trying to get all those guys. And it's just interesting to see him slip back into to go to the college level where you're seeing the issues that he's about to tackle are getting to some of the coaches that have been at programs for the longest time, like a Mike Gundy and, other schools where, keep it in town in Iowa. Mike Farley from Northern Iowa, he's kind of taken a step back because the game's changed. NIL recruiting, it's all different now. So it's going to be interesting to see how North Carolina and Bill Belichick kind of go about this process, him getting engraved with this. He hasn't coached college in probably 25 years, almost 30 years. So times have changed. I think this can go either really well for them, or we might see him after his 3 years there, we might see him not come back. So
Yeah, and I think another thing I noted was, I mean, it's a 5-year deal, but I think
it is.
he's going to be like a top 6 highest paid coach currently.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, only 7 coaches made over 10 million. I think he's making 10 or something. So that's, I mean, hey, he's getting his bag.
Mm-hmm.
Got to support those young hotties he's dating at this point in his life.
72 years old, and it is a 5-year deal. So that'll be, yeah, I think. But one thing I will tell you is that he does now become like the most experienced, probably I feel like you're not going to see his guys make like stupid mental mistakes, stuff like that.
I don't know. I mean, they're still kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it doesn't matter how good you are at coaching, there's still going to be some of those mental mistakes. I mean, you look at some of these Alabama teams, they weren't perfect, even though Nick Saban is like the greatest college coach of all time.
That's true.
It'll happen. He just has to expect it and figure out how to mold 18 to 22-year-olds.
Mm-hmm. And
As
I'll
a famous
definitely.
coach has said.
That's true. That is true. But I'll definitely be tuning into UNC football more than I ever have now that this is happening. So, moving on to one more college topic, as we're going into 40 minutes of talking about college football. But hey, that's just what we got to do sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Michigan. What are we doing? What are we doing here?
Oh my gosh, I can't remember was it like the mayor or something? It was, I can't remember.
I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, whoever it was, he was like, I put into action this new sportsmanship act to make flag planting a felony.
It was an Ohio lawmaker, is how the headline is.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. So, Ohio State banned it, pretty much, made it illegal just because Michigan was planting the flags.
Ohio State Rep. Josh Williams and Republican Sylvia Twip, sorry, that's just what TWP, introduced the OHIO Sportsmanship Act on Tuesday, which would make it a felony to plant a flag at the center of Ohio Stadium. Oh, so just
That's
at the
insane.
center. Just at the center. So if we do it in the end zone, it's all right, right?
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I get the issue with like this last bit. I mean, you can't put that on. I think flag planting can be a thing. I mean, hey, if you don't want a flag planted in your center logo, win the game, right? That's the easiest way to avoid it. I mean, I feel like the fight was a lot worse than I've seen like ever in college football. But I think it's pretty soft to be like, oh, if you plant a flag on our field, we're going to arrest you for a serious crime. Like, let the kids play.
And I mean, honestly, it's weird to do this over something like flag planting, something where you could easily just be like, okay, like, oh, someone planted a flag at our center field, at the center of our field. While that is like on like a deeper level, like disrespectful and all that, totally get that. But at the same time, a couple days later, you can just be like, yeah, that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So,
and also, my favorite thing is like all the comments to this guy, like releasing that he made this act. Everybody's like, oh, glad to see that our taxpayer money is going to just issues that we don't care about. Glad to see you're tackling the gun violence issues and all this other stuff and like property theft. And that's like a graphic of like what voters really care about. And then it was like, you going to address these, or are we just going to arrest all the college kids that are planting flags.
Right. Which does, it's stupid. It doesn't, I mean, I guess they got really offended by that. And hopefully Ohio State learns how to beat Michigan sometime. But can you, now that this is becoming more of a thing, because it happened a lot on that day. Most notably, like
Arizona.
Yep,
the
NC
fourth.
State did it.
That was
NC
pretty
State did it to UNC. Did Syracuse do it to Miami, I want to say?
No, they just beat Miami.
But can you imagine the amount of controversy that would happen if that happened at a Cyhawk game?
I was thinking that. If
Mhm.
Iowa came to Jack Trice and beat them and then planted an Iowa flag in the middle, yeah, I'm pretty sure there would be multiple fights on the field, in the stands, at the bars later.
Probably
that might get the Cyhawk game canceled forever.
Probably caused by Christian, the fights at the bars.
No, we never do that.
But thankfully, I think what we can agree on is that I don't think this would ever happen at a Cyhawk game. And this isn't me trying to take an elitist standpoint, but I do think Kirk Ferentz and Matt Campbell coach their guys pretty well to be like, hey, don't do that, you know?
Yeah, and we got to think that this is a new head coach for Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, these Michigan kids they've gone through a lot of struggles this year on the field.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they can't even throw the ball past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to just run it on every single down. Hey, that worked against Ohio State. They beat probably the biggest rivalry in sports.
It's the game for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, and Ryan Day can't win it. And there you go. I mean, Michigan, all that pent-up anger they've had throughout the season, they just threw that into the center of the field and into the Ohio State players' faces.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I mean, I feel like the good deterrent from doing that again was the fact that all these kids were, like, detained by the police pretty much and pepper sprayed, and I thought that will keep them from doing it again, as opposed to being like, oh, yeah, you're going to go to jail if you put that. Because then what's next? We got to ban people from taking down the field goal posts from their schools or rushing the field. Is that going to be a felony now? Because
I'm sure you saw
or something.
There was a video released at when Iowa State beat Kansas State that the cops were lining up around the goalpost because they did not want those taken down. And honestly, I feel like if Iowa State fans would have taken the goalpost down for beating Kansas State, I know first 10-win season, all that, you can rush the field. Do we really need to take the goalpost down for beating Kansas State?
No. It wasn't who we beat though. It was
No, yeah, exactly. That's the argument that me and one of my roommates got into. He was like, really? We rushed the field for that? I was like, bro, it's the first 10-win season in program history. Plus, also that stadium is like not full, so all the sickos that stuck through that game, you deserve to rush the field. Especially like you saw a lot of like the older generation that probably never thought they would even see Iowa State win 9 games, win 10 games. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I have on college football.
Are we done? We're done with college football?
No, we're not done. It's just heating up.
Well, we'll run through this playoffs or this NFL stuff real quick because the NFL is still going on despite our 2-week hiatus of not talking about football. Thankfully, I don't think we missed out on too much. I think the funniest thing was just your boy Kadarius Toney getting released from the Browns after one game, but
that was probably one of the quickest stints any players had.
So I know he was on the practice squad for a while, but I feel like that was his first game played with them.
Yeah, I don't think he was on the practice squad for even that long, maybe like a few weeks.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, he was out there for 2 snaps, 2 returns, first one he got a taunting on, and the second one he muffed. Like, come on, Kadarius Toney. Like, at what point are we like, all right, we're done giving you chances? You're the Josh Rosen of receivers.
That was actually his third game played, believe it or not.
Did he have any stats in the other ones, or?
Well, he finished with 4 returns for 44 yards with Cleveland. Let me check his game logs. Against Denver, he had 1 rush for 3 yards. And against New Orleans, 3 weeks ago, he had 1 rush for -7 yards.
Oh, that's right. I forgot because they were saying out of, what is it, like 340 players in fantasy football, he is dead last. He is -0.1 points, which means that we, sitting here talking about him, have scored more fantasy points this season than he has. Is that cool?
It is cool.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's off my team. I also knew that. Yeah, that last week's game, I was like, whatever. As long as my boy Jameis Winston's having fun out there, you know.
Yeah, he's been a fun watch on that Hard Knocks show that they're doing. But we'll go. No offense, but we'll go to the teams that actually matter. By the way, we won't just disregard. Yeah, that was, for any of you thinking, yes, that was the worst special teams play of all time on Monday Night Football for the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, where they recover the muff punt and a fumble.
I keep forgetting his name, but poor number 41 on the Cowboys who blocked the punt. Probably thinks he made the play of the game, giving the ball back to Cooper Rush with a tie game with like 2 minutes left in the game on our own field. He blocks the punt, and what does Amani Oruwariye do? Tries to be the hero and touches the ball, just bounces off his shoulder. Bengals ball.
Again, why? Who's teaching these kids to pick these balls up? If I'm a coach, I'm saying, I don't care what the situation is, fall on that ball.
No, don't touch it.
I mean, that ball is going to probably be touched by somebody at some point.
Well, it was a blocked punt. No, regardless, don't touch the ball. We get the ball no matter what.
Unless the other team gets it, unless you touch it.
Well, yes, but if the Cowboys players don't touch, I would coach them just like how you would coach anyone on punt returns. Like, hey, if this gets blocked and it goes past the line of scrimmage, don't touch it.
Well, it's also tough if the ball's bouncing because, you know, you never really know where that thing's going. I've seen a couple where a punt will come and it'll kick backwards and
well, it was on like our
blocker.
It was on like the Bengals 40-yard line. What do you think it's going to punt or it's going to bounce all the way to our 5-yard line?
No, but if you're close to that ball and it bounces and hits your shoulder, kind of like what happened, like.
But we got.
Why not just fall on that?
That's when we got to get into risk and reward.
If you're that close to the ball, just fall on it.
You need to go look back at that play. There was like 3 guys around him that even if he does fall on it, let's say he muffles it a little bit when he's falling on it, Bengals rip it away, Bengals ball.
Not if he's on the ground with possession. Come on.
Okay, whatever. But we'll get to the teams that actually matter. My Cowboys, I'm still watching you, but gosh, you make it hard. So the NFL playoff race obviously heating up here. We got the Chiefs and the Lions both. The Chiefs are, I want to say 12-1. Or they both 12-1?
The Lions are also 12-1.
So yes, exactly. That's where I was getting at. I thought maybe that the Lions had lost another game, but no, I'm wrong. Anyway, so we can agree probably both those teams likely going to lock up the 1 seed here in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
unless the Vikings come out and the Bills are behind 2 games now, sitting at 10-3, as are the Steelers, which is kind of crazy. But if the
Eagles are also closing in on the 1 seed in the NFC.
That's true. So it's kind of a 3-team race right now between in the AFC, Steelers, Bills, Steelers, Bills, Chiefs, and then in the NFC, Eagles, Lions, Vikings. What are your predictions right now? Just looking out here, we got, I think, about 5 weeks left in the season, which, I know we talked about before. We haven't been paying too much attention to the NFL right now, but that's just because of how awesome college football has been.
Yeah, I've been keeping track of it a decent amount just because I needed a playoff push to make our fantasy playoffs, and I did it. So, don't never say never, quoting my homeboy, JB. But, yeah, I had to rip off 4 straight wins at the end of the season. Had to switch my record from 1-5 to 7-7, but they don't want to hear about that. Yeah. Comeback of the century. I think it's the way these teams are playing right now. I think the Lions could be passed. They could drop another game. I don't think that the Vikings are going to hop over them, though. I think that's one of those situations where I think that the Lions are going to win the NFC North. But the Eagles could very easily take that 1 seed from them.
And likely they could have a good chance at putting the Bills out of that 1 seed race because, and I completely forgot this, they play each other on Sunday. Now that's going to be a good game.
Which is why I'm thinking, the Bills.
Are underdogs. Detroit's favored by 2.5. It is at Ford Field. Bills are plus 120 right now.
Yeah, the Bills. Josh Allen's coming off the best quarterback performance ever, right? You can almost. I feel like there's almost no way of saying that wasn't like the most a quarterback has tried to carry a game. Sorry, Joe Burrow, for what you've been doing this season, but Josh Allen out there with 6 total touchdowns, and his team still loses by 2 points. The Bills look legit. The Lions clearly are legit. I think the Lions are a little banged up right now, but I think they're still probably like the best team in the league.
I would agree. They've definitely been making it that way. The Chiefs have been getting kind of lucky late in these games, whereas the Lions have just been killing their opponents.
And here's my thing with the Chiefs. I think they'll lock up the 1 seed here pretty soon. They play the Browns this week, so that's probably the biggest lock of all time. Actually, I take it back from that SMU Penn State game. This is the biggest lock of all time. Chiefs Browns. But everybody's saying, well, the Chiefs are not good. They're winning these close games, the most 1-score games that a team has won like ever or something. But at the end of the day, they're 12-1. Like,
right.
Good teams win games that they shouldn't, right? And I think everybody's like, well, this is like the Steelers in 2020 or the Vikings in 2022. But no, the difference is they have Patrick Mahomes. So once they get to the playoffs, it doesn't matter how good or bad they look. You kind of have to bet on them making the AFC Championship.
Exactly. And thankfully, it looks like even with the wild card spots, we're going to have a really heated, playoffs this year. It's going to be great. You look at the wild card spots right now, like the Chargers are probably going to grab a wild card spot, and I still think they're a good team. The Commanders, I had them on our docket. Are they slipping out of that 7 seed? Maybe. But
the NFC is just so close.
Exactly. And maybe even I'm kind of silently rooting to see if the Bengals can go on a run. I don't think they will, but if they can, wow, maybe even give Joe Burrow that MVP if he's able to bring that team to the playoffs.
Yeah, my thing is he'd have to knock out one of these AFC West teams. Although he's just, they're 3 games back from everybody, and there's just not a lot of time left. So one of these teams is going to have to lose out, and the Bengals are going to have to just do better than the Colts and the Dolphins, who are also right on the fringe.
And they have a matchup with the Broncos, second to last game of the season. That could have huge playoff implications there.
And you almost have to just hope that like the Steelers and like the Texans keep just winning out, beating a lot of these better teams in the AFC because, I mean, look, Texans take on the Dolphins this next week. If the Bengals want a chance, the Dolphins have to lose that game.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if the Dolphins want a chance, which they're only 2 games back,
Right.
they have to win that game.
What a crazy season it's been for them too. And to even be, in consideration for that wild card spot. Honestly, I don't really like Mike McDaniel that much. I don't think he's that great of a coach, but
wow. We got a hater over here. He's so funny. He's like, he'd be like one of us if we were coaching.
Yeah, except I know ball. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well.
And I wasn't a former alcoholic, but it's okay. We all had our struggles.
Yeah, can't relate. Current alcoholic.
No. But
the NFC side, I mean, Cowboys are still in the hunt.
Shut up. We're done talking about irrelevant teams. It is crazy. Back. It is crazy to see that. So how many weeks do we have left? We're in week 15. Week 15 starts tonight. We'll talk about that game a little bit, but we have 4 weeks. 4 weeks left in the season, and there are still somehow 15 teams left in playoff contention in the NFC.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing is there's only one spot to grab. If you really think about it, the first 2 spots have been locked up. The Vikings are making it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the world would have to end for them to miss it. Same with the Steelers. And then, so they're making it. There's only 5 or 7 spots. Mm-hmm. So that's 3 of them. The other 2 are going to the winners of the other 2 divisions. You only have 2 spots pretty much available to take. Mm-hmm. And one of those is probably going to go to the Packers.
Right.
Who really only have 4 losses because they're in the best division in football right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I'm hoping, I'm praying for, Baker Mayfield to still pull it out and get that Bucs to the NFC South, another title. And it helps when Kirk Cousins just keeps throwing it to the other team. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, he's been bad against teams that aren't in his division.
Right. Yeah, especially against the Bucs. That's the big thing is that they hold that tiebreaker over them because they beat them twice. But Atlanta sitting at 6-7 right now. Bucs obviously at 7-6. Atlanta has it a little bit easy for their last 4 games. They've got Raiders, Giants, Commanders, and Panthers. Bucs only really with one more, toss-up game with the Chargers, which is this Sunday, and then it's Cowboys, Panthers, Saints. So,
yeah, I mean, the Bucs just have to fend off the Falcons.
Yep,
and I think that's the same with the NFC West, where
they have to fend. Yeah, they have to fend off pretty much everyone in that division.
Yeah, I mean, currently, I think the 49ers are kind of out of it at this point. We'll see what happens this next week since they play the Rams. But I think
the Rams, tonight. You say this next week. It's tonight, my guy.
Oh my gosh, it's already Thursday, isn't it?
This is a big game tonight. This is a really big game, and I just put a parlay on it.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of implications. If the Rams win this, I mean, they're looking like they could be. I mean, that's a playoff team, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's a two horse race between them and Seahawks at that point.
And they play the Seahawks in the last game of the season.
Mm-hmm. It'll probably come down to that too. And then it's going to be if the Commanders can just stay ahead of the Cardinals, it's really going to be Commanders, Cardinals, and then Rams, Seahawks.
Right.
Plus, I mean, there's a good chance that if the Rams and the Seahawks could both make it, push the Commanders out.
That's true. You can't. I mean, the Commanders have been slipping a little bit. That's what I'm saying. I think that loss to the Cowboys really hurts them. So it's exciting. It's a lot more exciting than I remember. Honestly, I was really looking at what's it called? I was looking at just like how awesome college football has been and how awesome it's going to be. And I just forget how heated everything's getting right now with the NFL. So,
yeah. And I mean, the Rams are – I'm just going back to these Rams because I was just wanting to mention how Puka Nacua – I was hating on him forever, But my goodness, he transformed into a superstar last game. I mean, he was incredible. So, also Sam Darnold, if we want to talk about like players of the week. I guess Sam Darnold threw 5 touchdowns.
Again, against Kirk, who is coming back to his old stomping grounds. Yeah, that was a really good game by the Vikings. I was able to watch that with my girlfriend, who is from Minnesota, big Minnesota Vikings fan. So 11-2 with Sam Darnold. That's pretty crazy. I think I had one more topic for us to talk. Oh, yeah, Thursday Night Football. Again, big implications here. Who you got in this Thursday Night Football matchup? I put down a parlay for the Rams to win. So,
yeah, I think the Rams are going to win this pretty easily. I mean, they've just looked like the better team. And I think I mean, Brock Purdy played out of his mind last week, but
yeah, he did.
That team is just so injured and beaten up. And I think at some point the 49ers just have to sit down and be like, okay, this clearly isn't our year. Like, whatever supernatural forces are keeping our players off the field, like, at some point we just have to play for next season.
Yeah, kind of crazy that both Brock Purdy and Matt Stafford, with over 3,000 passing yards right now, both under 20 touchdowns, 20 passing touchdowns. And you just, I mean, we just got to address it real quick. Deebo Samuel, you need to chill. All right, you need to get off Twitter.
Oh, I didn't see it. What did he do?
Well,
what did he do this time?
He basically was just complaining about how he doesn't get the ball, like any wide receiver does.
Yeah, okay. Well, he gets the ball more than anybody. So,
let me.
At least you still have an ACL, Deebo. How about you stop complaining and support your team? Like, it's not a one-man show here.
His exact tweet was not struggling at all, just not getting the ball, with about 8 exclamation points and the emoji. And he got community noted that said he leads the team in drops. He is struggling.
Yeah. He also probably has, out of any player on the team, he probably has the most offensive plays like drawn up for him.
Yes, exactly.
Guarantee he's ran the most routes. Guarantee he's ran the most first option routes. And I also guarantee he definitely has the most touches in the backfield as a receiver. So, I would almost like to see his rushing attempts and see if, he definitely has more than Christian McCaffrey, right?
Well, he has to, since Christian McCaffrey didn't play till week 11, whatever it was. But
exactly.
Here are some quotes from Niners press conference from Coach Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I understand Deebo saying that. Deebo wants to help us out, and the only way he helps us out is getting the ball more, and we'd like to get it to him more. We'll continue to work at that. Then Brock Purdy, Deebo and I talk all the time. He's one of my best friends on this team. I absolutely love Deebo and what he's done for me and helping me out. We talk all the time, and he's right. So now you have your head coach and your quarterback defending you, which maybe rightfully so, but I don't really think so.
I mean, they have to. I think Deebo's a good player. I think he's just kind of has some issues off the field. He doesn't seem like he's a great teammate, which, we kind of saw that when he was fighting the kicker again.
That's true.
If you don't want to put your fate in the hands of a kicker, why don't you just score a touchdown, Deebo?
Also, let's not forget that, like, Brandon Ayuk, who just got paid this offseason after a big hissy fit that started this podcast, really, is out for the season. Deebo, you are the number 1 wide receiver. Are you getting out?
He's letting Juwan Jennings outperform him.
Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, who was shot. He's getting shot. I need to look at the game logs, obviously, but I hope you're not letting those guys get more touches than you.
I guarantee Juwan Jennings is. I can look it up right now. Ricky Pearsall. He came in recently, because he had a gunshot to the chest.
Just to look at last game, Deebo Samuel
is out catching on a little more targets. Yeah, he's just been a better player.
what's he got? He's got 14 more targets, and he has 17 more receptions. So
proof is in the pudding.
220 more yards, 5 more touchdowns. 5.
Even Ricky Purcell has a touchdown. 12 catches on 20 targets.
I love that grammar, by the way. Even Ricky Pearsall has touchdown. Bro turned into a caveman. Do you have touchdown?
I has touchdown.
Can I get touchdown?
Yeah, don't drink, kids. Your brain will be just mush.
Or watch TikToks, which apparently that won't be a problem anymore. Switch over to Instagram Reels.
Yeah, they try to ban TikTok every single day. They'll never get it off the.
It's like
the Chinese are controlling our children. It's like, okay,
it's like Stream East. They always
try to put down Stream East, and it's always coming back.
Didn't it come out a while ago that like the people that run Stream East were like, you can take it down as much as you want. We have like an unlimited amount of domains that like we just keep putting it up, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do.
So yeah, Rams in this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think that makes sense.
I'll send you that parlay later. Maybe you'll tail it. It's an
8. Except I'm in Minnesota, so I can't.
That's right. Well, there's a lot of props in there.
Yeah, I got right to the Iowa border this last weekend and instantly threw down like $100 in bets. I was like, let's go.
Yeah. Well, what were you doing there? If you mind sharing with the viewers, what were we doing at the Iowa border?
I went to Des Moines, helped my old friend from college move.
Gotcha. That's right. I did see that.
Yep, caught up with some of the boys. Won some
always
money.
Love to see it. Always love to see
Found out I'm not as much of a degenerate gambler as one of my other friends.
That's always good to hear.
Although he wins more, so I guess he can afford to drop like $160K on it. But.
True. Real quick, we got the MVP race too, heating up as much as the playoffs. Right now, it seems like a toss-up. A little bit with Josh Allen leading slightly over Lamar Jackson. I think so we're done with buys, thankfully, because like there's teams like who are just on a bye, like the playoff teams, the Ravens, the Broncos, and the Commanders that all had buys this week, and I'm like, oh yeah, they exist. That's kind of my problem when teams go on buys, is I just kind of forget they exist. And now it's like, oh yeah, like Lamar is still trying to get his second straight MVP. I don't know if he will. It seemed like he was a shoo-in for the first probably like 10 weeks of the season, but Josh Allen is staking his claim.
It's just the Ravens started losing games, and that's the biggest thing as a quarterback. Unfortunately, the committee thinks that wins are a quarterback stat. Otherwise, I think Joe Burrow's probably having one of the best seasons we've seen. But Lamar Jackson was playing out of his mind. His team was winning. They started to drop some games, and now I think he's kind of fallen out of the race. They would have to probably win out, get like
the 2 seed.
They would probably have to win their division too.
That's true, because
I don't remember the last time a team that didn't win the division had a quarterback win the MVP. That might be tough to find. I mean, I know there's been some quarterbacks with like not great records, but that was probably like back in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, Josh Allen, he put up 6 total touchdowns this last week, right? He could not have done more for his team to win that, and yet they have a playoff spot locked up already. He's been the best. I think it's about time he's won MVP, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame that he hasn't won it yet. And I think this is going to be the year.
Yeah. And shout out to him for getting engaged to Haley Steinfeld, who I share a birthday with, in case you wanted to know.
That's interesting. So that means Haley Steinfeld's birthday was that yesterday?
Yep. She's 28. Josh Allen wished her a happy birthday. So basically,
Josh Allen wished you
ipso facto, I got a happy birthday from Josh Allen. So
if you didn't know, my boy Logan over here had his birthday yesterday.
yes, sir. LeBron year coming up, or I'm in it, I guess. But
LeBron year?
LeBron year, yeah, 23. Because no other athlete has worn 23, right?
Okay, I was going to say, that does not sound familiar.
What?
Pretty sure everybody calls it your Jordan year.
Yeah, if you're a fanboy. Anyway.
Really, that rolls off the tongue a lot better than LeBron year.
Jordan but year. We got, in this MVP race, speaking of MVPs with LeBron, we got a couple running backs. We got a couple running backs still in that race too, with Saquon and Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you put Derrick Henry in there because I did forget he is having an amazing season. If anything, I feel like maybe at the end of the year, one of the quarterbacks is probably going to pull away more as the MVP, but that makes the Offensive Player of the Year award. That race is pretty heated right now.
Well, I put Derrick Henry in because I think we're forgetting a couple things. There's peaks and valleys, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Saquon's having an incredible season. It's what like every Saquon fan has dreamed of. He's just never really lived up to his potential. So I think at some point, I maybe I'm in a single boat here, but I was like, he's probably never going to live up to his potential. He's come off too many injuries. He's going to a new team. Has to learn a new system. But yeah, now that team has a chance to get the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But on the other hand, Derrick Henry's not that far behind. I mean, 3 weeks ago, he was easily the best player in the NFL, right? I mean, we're looking at him like, oh my gosh, every week he's just going to run for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, this guy's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's resurging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has. So Saquon has 200 more rushing yards on 26 more carries. Derrick Henry has 2 more touchdowns than him, leading the league in touchdowns. In rushing touchdowns, I want to say, and I'd be correct, except he's actually tied with Jalen Hurts, who has 13 rushing touchdowns. But
which is the reason that Saquon doesn't have that many.
Right. I mean, even if you take 5 of those touchdowns away and give it to Saquon, like that's just helping his case a lot more.
Yeah. And also we forget that last year, Lamar Jackson wasn't really in the MVP race at this point in the season. It was those last like 4 to 5 games where he was like, all right, I'm going to play really well.
Yeah.
If he does that again, I was when Lamar Jackson was playing well, winning games in the MVP race, Derrick Henry was doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're about to see Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson like about to hit that peak, about to, go to the top of that roller coaster. Mm-hmm. And I think they kind of both have arguments to push Saquon Barkley out of there if Saquon doesn't get the rushing record.
Yeah, and it also helped that Lamar won the game against Brock Purdy, where Brock Purdy threw 4 interceptions, I want to say.
I think he threw like 3, and then Sam Darnold came in and threw 1.
Yeah, so not great. That was when Brock Purdy was the MVP front runner, presumably. But
he wasn't, unfortunately, because they just hate Brock Purdy. They were like, well, I mean, he's leading the league in every single stat, and his team is clearly the best team in the league. But I think Christian McCaffrey should be the. It's like, okay, shut up.
It was 4 interceptions, by the way.
Yeah, Sam Darnold came in and threw the 5th.
I would say.
Lamar Jackson really did a lot to win that game. I believe he played. Was that Travis Hunter out there? Was he playing corner?
Now, let's also keep in mind for that Offensive Player of the Year race, Jamar Chase, who has also been balling, leads the league in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. Probably going to be that Triple Crown winner, likely. So 1,300 yards on 93 catches and 15 receiving touchdowns.
Has there ever been a Triple Crown winner that hasn't won Offensive Player of the Year? There hasn't been that many Triple Crowns.
I would have to check. Yeah, I would have to check Steve Smith, but you have to think he won it, right? Because that was the last guy to do it before Cup did, and he won Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah,
he did win it, and he won Comeback Player of the Year that year. So
yeah, so I mean, An All Pro. Yeah. Wait. Did he win the Offensive Player of the Year though?
Who?
Steve Smith.
Yeah, he won Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough race there, and I think people are. It's a little recency bias to say that Saquon deserves the MVP because people seem to forget that that's a quarterback award. You really have to do something crazy to win it as a running back. I mean, Christian McCaffrey said insane season after insane season. Derrick Henry rushed for 2,000 yards.
Still
None of them were even considered.
Yeah. And I hope it's Lamar Jackson mainly because I put money on him when it seemed like he was a shoo-in. But, if Josh Allen gets it, then rightfully so. If I did have to replace a bet, would likely go on Josh Allen.
Well, I hope it's Joe Burrow because I placed a bet last year that they were going to win the Super Bowl, and right now it's not looking too hot.
Yeah, I did that for the Cowboys, $5 to win 90. So,
yeah. Hey, the Bengals have a 4% chance if they win this next game.
But that is likely going to do it for us. Thanks again for joining us back here on Trench Talk. Missed you guys. Missed my boy Christian talking about sports like this. We got to run into each other. Obviously, I visited him over Thanksgiving, but, it's not the same when you get to talk sports in front of everyone. So thanks again for joining us. We'll see you guys next week where we will, it kind of sucks because we previewed the CFP a lot this episode and it starts next week, but I'm sure we'll have a lot of NFL news for you guys. Thanks for joining in again, and we will see you guys next week.